Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Inlay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and today we have a very special, very dear guest of mine, Jenny. I'm not going to say we grew up together, but we've been through a bit together the last few years. How are you doing? And welcome to the show.
Hey, Payman, thanks for inviting me. Well, I'm like you, just fighting the good fight on the front lines and plugging away here out in Burnaby. It's been a long, arduous journey out here. I feel very alone oftentimes, but connecting with people like you really keeps me grounded and gives me hope when I see all the good work you're doing, trying to make a difference, at the federal level, because man, oh man, are we in trouble if some of those people who are currently running the show get back in.
Yeah, and it's I don't know what's going to happen. So before the audience is going to be a casual episode. Jenny's been helping me out tremendously with my campaign. She's just a wealth of knowledge. Um, I don't know what's going to happen because in my heart, I believe the conservatives will win the election. Now, maybe a minority. The polls, I believe, are lying, but I'm in that room and I see how the liberal, jackals, the serpents, because I've been in the room with two of the liberal candidates now, and I see how sophisticated they are. I'm talking about the word sovereignty. They're playing on this orange man bad by saying Trump is attacking our sovereignty.
Well, the thing is, they have the means to be sophisticated. They've got the piggy bank of the taxpayers, billions of dollars at their disposal to, fight us, on with propaganda and with the polls and with the paid off CBC and on and on. And yeah, like you say, the whole orange man bad. I don't even know where to start with that, right? Like, how is that even a thing? Right? For as long as I can remember, Canada and the United States of America have been best, neighbors. We are allies. We have gone to war together. We share the world's longest unmanned border. And then now all of a sudden, Canada's going to turn our back because they don't like these more strict policies that are not only protecting America, but they're actually protecting us, believe it or not. It's just and sovereignty. Well, that's a whole other topic, because are we sovereign? Not really. We have our head of state as the Queen. Well, no longer the King of England, who is actually, I started researching it. It's actually the King of Canada. He is separately considered the King of, Great Britain, but also the King of Canada. And we actually, as Canadian taxpayers, pay more to have him, the privilege of having him as our head of state, than, people in England do. It's quite preposterous, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't need that, but I was just laughing at you and I were talking the other day and about David Eby changing the emergency bill. And you're like, Davy's the emergency, not the bill, not the US.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing here, though. The threat to our sovereignty is not from the US, it's from Carney. They parachuted this guy in from the city of London.
Yeah, and I was just reading, I one of his things popped up in my Facebook feed. And I had to laugh because it said, oh, he got this endorsement from, was it Neil Young? And I looked and I went back to the early days of the pandemic, and it's like, oh, Neil Young was pissed off at Spotify and he didn't want his music or this and that if people are spreading vaccine misinformation. I was like, oh, okay. So not only are you full on board getting endorsed by a man who's brain injured from his vaccine, his COVID injections, but you think that's going to help your cause? Like, isn't he American, or am I wrong?
I don't know what the rules are anymore.
Neither do I. It changes daily, and the misinformation changes daily. And it's just like, I just had to laugh, and I was just like, oh man, Mark Carney, you got the support of Neil Young. Good for you. You don't have the support of Canadians. And to say, I think there was an ad that said something along the lines of like, oh, I have managed all of these crises in the world. It's like, Well, if you're busy your entire life
Against
managing
or cause.
crises, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're the crisis, just
Yeah,
like
but
David Eden,
that's
right?
like if I'm drinking and driving and I cause 3 accidents, I'd be like, I
Yeah,
have managed the cleanup of 3 accidents.
exactly. I did a bang up job
Yeah,
here. But
that's
ICBC will love you either way because they're getting paid for all of the insurance hikes, right?
yeah, I think government grant.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a whole nother topic of
I did
concern.
you and I were talking last night. I did that debate. That was
Yes,
yesterday, right? Am I?
I don't know. It's one day is blurred into another. You've gone to a few debates now. You've gone to the senior center in West Van, and then you're up at the Sunshine Coast where I used to live, in Gibson's and Seashell, right?
Yeah. So the senior center one, it might have been the day before yesterday. I realized then what the liberal strategy is. They're going to the baby boomer generation that votes, very high, like 80% of them vote
Yeah.
because they have nothing else to do, and
Mhm.
they're scaring them with this
Mhm.
orange man bad.
Yeah.
And so this one guy, he came up, and you know how old people are. That like one sentence they'll repeat it in 18 different ways. And he's saying that, please, telling the liberal candidate, imploring him, give word to Carney, it's not the Americans that are bad, it's Donald Trump. And it's Donald Trump that we have to oppose, not. And I'm just like, all right, buddy, like wind it down. There's other questions.
Yeah, and for me, like I always like because my grandparents are all gone, right? And I always take the time and chat with older people. Like I belong to a community garden, and I love the wisdom they have to impart. And my parent or my grandfathers were all veterans, so I really try to honor that memory and say, this is important. There's so many people who are so jaded by our political system with good reason, but like my grandparents didn't go fight in a war for us to just give up these rights, you know
Yeah.
and it's appalling, and it's such a stain on their honor, right? Like where's the the veterans literally lost their lives. They were in the trenches fighting. So what, we could just be like, nah, I don't want to go exercise my right to vote, and never mind the women who have not had that right, not only here but in other countries. Look at certain countries around the world where women are still treated horrifically. They don't have the right to vote, let alone the right to speak, right? It's like the fact that so many Canadians are so apathetic and so nonchalant about their civic duty. I've never understood that, because I've always, from the age of 18, I've always voted, whether it's federally, provincially, municipally. To me, it just makes sense.
You know what it is? I go out sometimes and I look. Ever since I started doing this campaign, like before, I used to just look down. You make eye contact, might have to run the risk of saying hello to someone. But
That's
now,
Vancouver.
yeah, yeah. Now, like I'm looking at people. I look at people in cars. It's always one person. Like it's very disconnected. Everyone's grumpy. I look
Yeah,
at the people in West Bend, like a woman in Lululemon pants that's going for a jog. Three
yeah.
guys in their spandex biking gear. They're cycling. They don't care as long as they can keep doing those things. They don't care about anything else.
Well, yeah, if their life is not been directly impacted, it doesn't bother them, right? Like I used to work in West Van. I was a Earl's girl, at the original Tim Palace. I worked at Cactus Club at West Van at Park Royal, and then I was also up at Capilano Golf and Country Club, right, as the admin assistant. So I've seen the gamut of West Vancouverites and what they sort of think and feel and how they behave. But yeah, it blows my mind that if you're not being impacted, you don't care, right? Like that wasn't how we were brought up. That's not, like what happened with this new generation, that there seems to be such that disconnect. And probably likely what it's been is the last 5 years. Let's isolate everybody, let's keep everybody apart, social distancing, like all of those things that were brought in to totally just ruin the very fabric of society and community. right?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the last 5 years. So COVID in that room in the senior center, it was like COVID all over again. Like mass hysteria, no critical thinking. It's just orange man bad, orange man bad.
And that's exactly how the easiest way to control the masses is through fear, right?
Oh,
Fear is such a powerful emotion that you aren't thinking straight. You're not using your critical thinking because your brain is sent into fight or flight mode. So you're just trying to survive. You're in survival mode. You're not like, say, let's slow down a minute. Hold on. Why might they be doing this right now? Why? Well, for starters, yeah, so they can blame Donald Trump and not take responsibility for Trudeau. Who else? Jagmeet Singh, who's kept him in power for 10 years. You know, at any time he could have called a vote of non-confidence, and he chose not to. It's ridiculous. Like that blows my mind, right? Like to pretend that you give a shit about us. Oh, you know, we gave you dental, and we're going to get you this, and we care about $10 a day childcare and blah blah blah. No, you don't. You're driving a whatever vehicle you drive, a Maserati, and you have your Rolex, and you're a rich man doing rich man things, and then you come into my city and you pretend like you care and you virtue signal. Oh, you did not give a damn when I was illegally evicted by my foreign slumlords, right? You promised, oh, we promise we will help, and your chief of staff promised, and Peter Julian's chief of staff promised, and nobody helped, nobody cared, right? It's all lip service as usual, and it's gross, and that's why they are like that party. I used to be a big NDP supporter because they were sort of middle of the line, and they cared about the average Joe. Well, that party died with Jack Layton, right? Jagmeet Singh has destroyed that party, and thank God they are at risk of losing their party status because they need to go. Like between him and David Eby and his little cohort of criminals, they have destroyed this province and this nation. And the Liberals, well, they speak for themselves. Trudeau, it's like one scandal after another. SNC-Lavalin and Jody Wilson-Raybould, and then the We charity with his mom, and like how many scandals can one person be a part of? I guess doesn't infinite. And the Canadians will just be like, okay, well, let's vote this back in. Like, and for the older generation, like, did you guys not forget what it was like to be in lockdown, like at your seniors' homes, and not being allowed to have family visit you, and like feeling so in despair? Like, how do you forget that? I don't know. Maybe it's early onset Alzheimer's. Maybe it's just like we want to forget and move on. Like, for me, I'm just so I can't get over that. Like, I've got kids.
It might be like I was thinking about this too. I'm like, how could they not care about the youth, like their grandchildren? It might be because of the breakup of the family unit. Like their kids and grandchildren just aren't visiting them, so they're jaded.
Yeah, totally. And I could see that, right? So they don't care. Like at a certain age, yeah, you get into that feeling like, oh, woe is me, nobody cares. And I get that. Like I feel bad when elderly are not taken care of. Like I think that's where North America's really got it wrong, right? It's like, yeah, let's ship our family off to old folks' home. But you look in other societies, like whether it's Japanese or Italian or Indian, they take care of the generations, right? It's multi-generational living. And that's not how North America, it's like, oh, let's have this, solo unit. But who is that helping? Nobody, right? It's impossible to get ahead in Canada and the United States as a single as a family without the support, without your village, right? Like how do you do that? Especially not with inflation, cost of living, all these like
Housing.
I heard on housing. Oh my God, housing! Like I heard on the radio, they said like 50%, I don't know if it was British Columbians or Canadians, are $200 away from being insolvent. Like that's That's a very worrisome.
Actually, to be honest, that's a lot brighter than I expected. I thought you were going to
Oh,
say
really?
40% are like several $100,000 in debt.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I think out of the G7 nations, Canada has one of the highest levels of consumer debt,
Yes,
right?
yes,
It's
exactly.
it's crazy. And that's why, Mark Carney and all his infinite wisdom, who was part of Brexit, it's like, yeah, how's that economy working out for them? Not so well. You
You
think,
know what?
yeah,
Sorry, I'm going to say something. The
yeah.
Jean Chrétien at the Liberal Leadership Convention, the bullshitter in chief, is a pro at lying. He goes,
Oh,
Canada's got the lowest debt of all the G7 nations. Well, yeah, when you offload the debt onto the consumers, like the
yeah,
households, then
yeah.
it's pretty easy to do that, which is what he did. That's how he balanced the budget.
Of course, and you're exactly right. Like for instance, a good example was, I think it was a Boxing Day. I went to go down to Point Roberts, um, because I was getting some banking set up there and trying to get across the highway through Swassen. The lineups to get to that mall were insane. It's like, you guys have just finished spending for Christmas and you're overspent and you're maxed out your credit cards. And now you're going to go spend more money just to save 20 cents on some shoes. I had to like literally go around the mall. Like the traffic was that backed up. I had to go like towards the port and around the mall and back through to get over to White Rock to Tsawwassen or to Point Roberts. I'm like, this is nuts. Like if people are just like, here, spend, 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 spend. Yeah, and it's true. Like they give away. They're happy to max out uh, your debt. Here's some credit cards, right? And you play the game. Like I'll transfer it here and there and everywhere. But it's like, at what point does that come back and bite you in the ass? Well, pretty soon, right? The bank bail-ins will come, right? If you got money in any of those big banks like RBC and TD and Scotiabank, oh, I would be worried. I wouldn't have my money in those banks. Like they're like teetering on the edge.
I think people might not know what bail-ins are. Just
No, you're right.
layman's explanation. Can you define what it is?
So bank bail-in, like, so 2008, when there was the economy was in a big trouble, right? It was the government gave money to the banks as a bailout. So they bailed out those banks, right? And that's why we weren't hit as hard as the United States was, right? Because the United States had all those big like BlackRock and stuff had bought up the real estate, and it was a whole. But here they were able to hide that and cushion it a bit more for us. Thanks, guys. But this time around, that's not going to happen because they're maxed out. They have created so much debt. They've like Trudeau has created more debt than every other former prime minister in this nation combined. Like in 10 years, like how this country's what 150 whatever 6 years old. How do you do that in a decade? Like what are you spending your money on? But back to the bail-ins, like yeah, so there's no money left to bail out these banks. They have maxed it out, sent it off to here, to Ukraine, to everywhere around the world for Soji training. We're going to help everybody but our own people, basically. So now the bail-ins come from the people. Oh, you've got your money in these banks? Well, the banks are too big to fail, so you fail. Your money is gone. We're holding on to it. Just like in the trucker convoy, when like that was like basically a preamble to what will happen, right? They shut down your bank accounts if you donated to the truckers, right? We've seen they have the ability to do it, and they will do it, right? So now, oh, it's a national emergency. It's a financial crisis. We're going to shut this down. Your bank account is now no longer yours. It's ours. We, under the Emergency Act, right, which they already tried before, we got to hold on to this money to save everyone. We're in it together, right, Bonnie? We're in it together. What did you say the other day? 2 weeks to flatten the economy?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. That's what's about to happen. So I'd be very mindful where you're holding your money. You know, credit unions are obviously better. And even at that, like I had moved my money from RBC to Van City. Well, Van City is basically
They they just shut down Megan Murphy's account. Now we're waiting to see why they
Megan.
did it. Megan
Remind me again
Murphy.
remind me again who she is.
She was a opponent of this LGBTQ agenda. A very attractive girl. She was big in, I think, Burnaby area,
Oh,
and
okay.
she's running now for the People's Party of Canada, but she's in Mexico. She was to come
Oh,
back on Monday,
yeah.
but the CRA told Van City to freeze their bank account.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm leaving Van City, because I'm with them and I have like a joint account with my husband, and then I have my own account, and then I also have my nonprofit account. Just a few months ago, they're like, we're doing this one member, one world, one organization bank card system. And I was like, no, you're not. I said, I want to have my bank account, my bank card, and my joint bank card, joint bank account card. And so I did. But then, like, because we've transitioned to online, bank, or no statements, no paper statements. Well, I just looked on my bank account. Holy shit. They're charged me $60 this month for bank fees, for transaction fees. I was like,
Those
what is
PDFs are not cheap.
holy man, no, they're not. And I'm like, when did this start? So I start scrolling back, and it's been like months. And just because I'm so busy being a mom, I haven't looked. And I was like, oh my God, I guess you're really in trouble if you're dinging us here, there, and everywhere.
Jenny, have you you have any crypto? Like, do you know how Bitcoin works?
I do have some crypto. It's yeah, I have some money in the market, stock market, and I have some in crypto. But like I said, I'm not that keeping up with stuff like that. I would.
It's okay. I'm not gonna go over the details, but crypto, you have, instead of an account, you kind of have a
Yeah.
wallet,
Yes.
and you create this wallet, and you give the wallet a name. Like if you're using it to save money, it's your savings account.
So do
You're
you have
using
a cold storage, or do you have a online?
the cold storage. So yeah, I took it off online, but
Okay.
like it's
Yeah,
just
and
so easy to set and create these
I
wallets.
know. And I started into crypto, and I had a online account, but then it asked for the passcodes, and you have to remember the codes. I'm like, God, I can't remember this. And then I wrote it down somewhere, and then I'm just like, I don't know the logins. And then, yeah, I was looking into getting a cold storage at one point. It's just on my very, 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 very long to do list.
It's more normal. Like people, we still use the phrase checking and savings. Like there's
Yeah.
no interest rates on those savings accounts. It's almost zero.
No.
And nobody writes checks. Like why
No.
would you need checking?
I write checks sometimes. I
Oh,
mean, not very often, but like for, I guess, damage deposit, for rent, or now I use the code, the online for cash, school cash online, to pay for like kids' hot lunch, or kids, whatever, school supplies, or whatever the school is mooching for, because our school district has grossly mismanaged our budget. Holy, I went to the budget meeting last night, and I was shocked to see, like, there's no money in the kitty for anything, and what they want to cut in Burnaby. I was appalled. They want to cut like grade 7 band, and they want to decrease like library assistants and EAs, and all sorts of really, strong start, all sorts of vital things. And I'm just like, what the? And I looked, I found this article from Burnaby Now, and they talked about, how much money was in the, in the reserves, just like 5 years ago. And it was like millions of dollars they had. Where was it? Sorry, my thing won't scroll. But now they're down to $43,000 in the reserve. I'm like,
that's better than the average Canadian citizen. That's $200.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, $200 away from insolvency. But I guess when you got an operating budget of $330 million, 43 million or 43,000 is nothing. right? So what have you spent this money on, for starters? And like, how do you expect that, like, oh, and the stories we got about why, oh, we really want to support the kids and we're sad and heartbroken about not being able to provide. It's like, shut up. Provide for the kids. I said to them, I said, let's talk about doing a salary cut for you guys. Like, there was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like how many assistants and how many this on the school board. What are you doing? They read one line each about the little presentation. It's like, this seems like a real big make work program to take money away from our kids. And like, not only that, like, I've been fighting with my school district to provide equal access opportunities for my children at school. And oh my word, like the amount of, well, basically I've had to get into some pretty abusive language towards the school district. So when I went up and I said my name, the guy who I've been emailing, he's like, oh shit. My husband, his eyes like bulged. He's like, oh, I recognize that name. He knew
it's her. It's her.
Call SWAT team. Like, oh shit. Well, mine as well. I said, yeah, you guys spend more money. How much money have you spent in your budget on legal fighting parents like me? Instead of working with me. And I know I'm not the only one. Like, my son has an ASD diagnosis, and that comes with a lot of funding from the ministry. And well, he certainly hasn't benefited from it, and I know it's not the school that gets to decide, it's the school district. And well, who are they spending that money on? Kids who are more low functioning, kids with behavioral issues, kids who, I don't know how they decide. Maybe, friends of theirs or their kids' friends. I don't know. But it's certainly not a my kid. And why should they get funding if they're misappropriating that money? Right. And then let's talk about international. Like, Burnaby was heavily reliant on monies from international students. And well, once the 2019-2020 rolled around.
Wait, slow down. International public education students or university?
Public, like a high school, elementary and high school. So basically, we get a lot of international students, and that comes with a certain amount of funding, right? So they have to pay, like, there's like a kid at my school, his dad, I think, pays like $700 a month for him to attend our school, right? So that's why they create spaces for these international students. And obviously that decreased a lot over, lack of people traveling here, travel restrictions, etc. Right. But because Burnaby had heavily relied on those monies, that's where you saw the budget become problematic when they didn't have that money available to them.
Jenny, this is one thing I don't understand. I mean, in principle, you pay, I'm just making these numbers up.
Yeah.
You pay $600 in taxes, and that $600 gets subsidizes the $700 cost of your children, and you only pay $100 per child. So if somebody from overseas wants to come, they have to pay the full $700. Why is there a benefit? I mean, if I was a school, I'm either going to get a subsidy from the government or I'm going to get it directly from the foreigner. Or are they like fleecing these foreigners and charging them like double?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, so municipal taxes, it would get divided, right? So you pay taxes municipally. Well, that would go to schools. It would go to, city hall. It'll be divided up, right? But provincially, there's also taxes, and that gets divided up. Ministry of Education, healthcare, which don't even get me started on that.
Don't go there.
and right, so there's different levels of funding provided provincially, municipally, but like, no, we don't pay, like, our kids don't pay to go to school. Like, it would hypothetically be covered in taxes, and because we're renters right now, we don't pay property tax, but our landlady does. Right. So her property tax a portion of that, and I don't know what the percentage is, goes towards education. Right. And that's where, like you were saying at your West Van the senior center, that's why you see them all jaded. They're like, well, I don't have kids, so why should I be paying property taxes for these kids, and when it doesn't affect me, right? But yeah, it's shocking to see how badly the city has, like, how do you run out of money? You're a very well established municipality, and now there's no money for education. Like, what? I don't know.
What do you think has happened? Is it all this like SOGI, like they're paying for litter boxes for kids that identify as cats?
Yeah. Well, SOGI has been pushed very hard. And I would love to see the numbers behind that, because I know Trudeau has spent federally like millions, if not billions, worldwide to push that agenda, right? And while I agree, yeah, everybody deserves to feel safe and at home and included, why are we paying for that when my kid can't even get out of French and into the English stream if he needs to, right? Why is my kid who's got a ASD diagnosis not getting the support that he not only deserves but is entitled to? Because they're pushing this agenda to say, oh, well, so-and-so is a cat now, so yeah, we have to pay for her to have a litter, or them, or whatever their pronouns are now, to have per. We have to pay for Per's litter box, right? And it's just like, you can't even, like, as a parents aren't even aware of what's going on in school. It's basically like Fight Club. What happens at school stays in school, right? Because, you know, my daughter had a friend who was identifying they, them, they had changed their name and on. And I was just like, whoa. And the mom was not aware of this. And I only knew because, you know, interactions with my daughter and her friend. And she was part of, I'm formerly a Girl Guide leader. That was before, don't even get me started on that organization. But yeah, like, so of course, you know, I want to be inclusive. I said, okay, what are your pronouns and this and that? But her mom had no idea, right? And this was being pushed by the school, by the teacher. And it's just like, how dare you, you know, inject your ideologies onto these very impressionable children, right? And now she's in high school. You know, she's back to her name, you know, her regular name, and she being called she, not they, them. And the thing that blows my mind is, you know, this woman has a Terry Beach sign in her in her thing. I'm just like, holy shit! Like, no.
What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, Terry Beach. He's the Liberal candidate in Burnaby, North Burnaby Seymour, and that man's a piece of shit too, if I might say so. You know, I was in his.
Can you do that as a teacher?
Yeah, apparently you can, because it's in the curriculum, right? This is what they're being forced to teach.
No. I'm talking about Terry Beach or whatever the sign.
Oh no, so Terry Beach. No, Terry Beach is not a teacher. He's a politician, federal politician.
Yeah, but you said the teacher had a sign for Terry Beach?
No, not the teacher. The parent of this child.
Okay.
Had a Terry Beach sign in her lawn, and I just like, oh my God, no! Like, how do I even approach that family and be like, you have no idea the harm this man has brought to my family? Like, I went to his office. I've been to his office multiple times about, you know, the fact that we were unlawfully evicted by foreign investors, about, you know, safe schools, like school zones, trying to get traffic changed, about so many issues. And, you know, I got the same lip service from his chief of staff. Oh, we hear you and we're sorry. And yeah, I want to help you. Well, guess what happened the last time I went? I went shortly after to the police station, and I was arrested. And they took me into Burnaby General under the Mental Health Act, trying to say I'm crazy.
We talked about this, but they didn't drug you, right?
No, because oh my God, they would have if I hadn't called my husband and stalled at the precinct and waited for him to show up. They were ready to, you know, like, I had all of my rights stripped, right? I said, I want to talk to a lawyer. I want to talk to the U.S. consulate. I want to talk to a whole bunch of people. And they were threatening, right? This big guy I'll call him. He's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
Jabbar.
He's like no. I know it's Jabbar, but it's Jafar. He's like the villain guy off of Jasmine, off of Aladdin, right?
Oh,
So
I see.
big guy, and
Clever,
he's being
clever.
threatening, right? And there's this, this nice, I think she was Korean female officer, and this other, I'll call him a pig. He was a big, rotund white man. And they were threatening me, right? Like I called my friend and I was like, oh, she's like, just get up and walk out. I was like, no, you don't understand. This guy is
I'll shoot you in the back.
He would have shot me in the back. I swear to God, like he would have grabbed me. He was standing in front of the door. I was scared shitless. And I was like, no, I'll just stall and wait till my husband comes. So at least he can come and help. And I thought he would have come in the precinct and said, get your hands off my fucking wife. I'm leaving. But no, they kept us separated, right? The Fraser Health nurse, he talked to him outside, and so they forced me to put handcuffs on. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go.
This is for the audience listening. It was very important, Jenny. You just said, the Fraser Health nurse. So you have nurses now doing the job of law enforcement.
Well, yeah, and he was wearing like a vest. So I don't know if he's part of the police. He works for the police, or I don't know how it'll work. At any rate, what happened was, they dragged me to Burnaby General, and I sat for hours in handcuffs, hours in the little room, right? And then I'd go out and I'd be like, hey, where's the nurse? Where's the charge nurse? Like, where's the psychiatrist? Where's the merge doctor? And, they kept my husband separated from me. And anytime I'd go out, of course, everyone, the hospital staff would see me, and they were kind to me. It's the police who were like, oh, stay back here. And obviously I knew I had to stay calm. Otherwise they would have drugged me for sure. Right. Like, look what happened to Dr. Mel. It's horrific what they do. And same with like baby Theo's mom. When they arrested her, they dragged her in, and it's horrifying for daring to have a voice, for questioning the government, and this isn't the first time. The first time I was arrested was outside Janet Rutledge's office 3 days before the provincial election. I had signs up on her window, which I was told I was allowed by the sergeant who came to my door previously about a order of no trespass or whatever, because I'd taped some signs up. And he ordered the rest. He said, get her out of here. So clearly Janet Rutledge's office lied and said, oh, we're afraid Jenny's threatening us. I said, fuck that. I was like, I smiled and waved, and I had my signs. I was by myself, peacefully protesting, well within my charter rights. And they grabbed me and restrained me, not even a conversation, right? Just, I'm going to grab you, put your cuffs on, you're under arrest. I'm like, for what?
Mischief. What are the charges? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Who cares? We'll make it up, and guilty until proven innocent.
Like you said mischief, right?
Yep.
So again, this is one of the things the audience doesn't understand. Mischief is like if you vandalize someone's car, you kick over their garden gnome, steal their trash can. Do you remember during the Freedom Convoy, they charged a lot of people with the conspiracy to commit mischief?
Yeah.
And what the hell is that? What's a conspiracy to commit mischief? We're going to go over there and steal the guy's garden gnome.
I've done that before in Sechelt. I feel bad about
it. Those are the good old days, though. Now
that's the good old days. Well, back in the day in Sechelt, you could, go hang out with your friends in Sechelt. You could hitchhike home, and the RCMP would pick you up and drive you home. That's what it's like living in a small community where people actually give a shit and care about you and have your back. Here, I don't know if it's just the changing times, or if it's the city, or if it's the fact that the RCMP are now the military, like they think they're the military, or they're just acting at the behest of the politicians. But this is not okay, right? This is Canada. We're supposed to have rights, freedom of speech, freedom of, who you interact with. Now we've got the thought police, right? Like, this is like very Orwellian, dystopian. Like when Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, when she's coming out to say this is very Orwellian. I don't know if you've ever watched The Handmaid's Tale, but it's very dark. And it's like, I feel like this is where we're heading. And she got it wrong in thinking that the United States was going to be bad. Well, Canada is
worse.
Plot twist, Margaret. Canada is the problem. Like, we're still under this, at least, down in the United States. they've cleared it up. They've got RFK Jr. in there. He's making some major serious changes that are going to drastically affect and impact the health for the betterment of Americans. And I think that's why they're trying to focus and say, oh, orange man bad, right? Because they don't want us to pay attention to anything good or bad that's happening down there. Right. So now if they got it in Canadians' minds, oh, America sucks, don't listen, elbows up, or whatever the hell their new statement is. Right.
I can't afford any food. It's okay. Put your elbows up.
Yeah. Well, then we aren't paying attention to important stuff like that. Right. So for me, it's very, very scary that people aren't paying, because obviously we're under a media blackout, right? We're not allowed to share. We're heavily censored. It's like, is this North Korea up in here? Or
I compare it to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran controls the state media, and every day they're like, the U.S. economy is done. We have won. The American Republic is finished. But at least everyone knows it's fake. But here they believe it.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. Like, you would never in a million years ever have thought, I never would have thought, growing up in Canada, I never would have thought I'd see the day that this happened here. And people like yourself and people of, European descent or Asian descent who have come from communist countries, who have come from war-torn states, who have seen it firsthand, well, they recognize this and they're like, oh, there's something awry and amiss here, right? And they'll either get the hell out or they'll be like, I'll just, go over here and pretend this might not be happening, or tell their friends. But Canadians are like, no, I'm going to trust Mr. Pierre Trudeau or Justin Trudeau and his new friend, Mark Carney. They would never hurt us. They wouldn't.
I've been here 35 years and I always considered myself a Canadian, like I fully integrated.
Yeah.
But being in that senior center on Wednesday, I was like, holy crap, like this is a side of Canada I didn't know anything about. Like these are people that they, like their father voted Liberal, their grandfather voted Liberal, so they're voting Liberal.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's like that mass formation. I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome or what's happened, but I feel like it's like we're dealing with almost as bad of a Hannibal Lecter. Like, do you think Clarice is really going to vote for Hannibal Lecter to run the country? Because that's what's going to happen if Mark Carney gets in. He's like, you might as well have Hannibal Lecter running your life.
Mark Carney comes out the day, April 29th, wearing Pierre Poilievre's face.
Oh my God, no.
The follow beings and some Chianti. Yeah.
Face off. Oh dear.
Face off. Yeah, elbows up to face off.
Face off. Yeah, we'll say, was it John Travolta and Nicolas Cage?
Oh man, this episode's really going downhill. There's no information anymore.
Sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's wild to me, and I just wish more Canadians would use critical thinking, right? And realize, like, I've never voted Liberal in my entire life, and until the last provincial election, I've never voted Conservative ever, and now, yeah, I support what the Conservatives are doing and the PPC are doing. And I think together, those two parties could really do a lot of good, right? And I think so many people have it in their mind, like the right, leaning right. Well, oh, it's this and it's that, and they have these preconceived notions of what it is. I definitely used to, right? I was like, no, not at all, right? I don't want to vote for you. But yeah, last federal election, I helped my PPC candidate run, and I really got to see, what I loved about it was the fact that you guys actually care about your constituents, and you have the ability to actually represent your constituents, right? Whereas all the big parties, the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens, and the Bloc, they are all bound by their party, right? They're whipped. So they have to vote however their party tells them they need to vote, right? We saw that. We used to have a NDP, I think it was an MP, Kennedy Stewart, right? And I went and talked to him a couple of times, and he was really great. but he spoke out against his party. I can't remember what it was about. I think it was maybe to do with the pipeline stuff, right? Because they were trying to ram through the twinning of the pipelines in through Burnaby, and he spoke out. Well, guess what? He got backbenched, right? He was like, they're like, no.
I think this is something people don't understand. Like when you hear a word like whip or, no free votes, people don't realize you in our constitutional system, you vote for a representative, and that representative represents the interests of your riding. But
Yes.
the moment you've submitted your vote, and if they win, they don't represent you anymore. They just go and become a small piece of this bigger party, and the party makes the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to fall in line. And I think there's a demoralization where they're like, why even debate this crap in the parliament if I'm already told how to vote? What difference does it make?
Well, and we saw that very much so provincially, right? When Dallas Brody spoke out on the Kamloops stuff, right? It was such a, that John Rustad's like, you're out of the Conservatives. Well, she wasn't wrong in speaking out to tell the truth, but it was too offensive for the Indigenous side of things. There's a First Nations constituent and stuff, and I get it, but at the same time, if we're not allowed to have a voice and speak the truth, and you're at risk of getting kicked out of your party, what's the point, right? Like if all her constituents were saying you need to speak out on this, and she doesn't. Well, what is she? Who is she serving? Not the people who voted for her, right? And I love the fact that there was two other members who rallied with her and were like, "We're out of here, right? We're not going to stay in this party, right?" The Peace River Keeley or something, and then the Lake Country, right? Because John Rudstad, he's a fraud, right? He's a former.
I never liked him. After they kicked out. So they didn't let Corinne Morey or Sean Taylor in, and then they kicked out Stephen Malthouse, Jan Webb. There was another lawyer from Nanaimo.
And there was also James Davidson, right out in the valley. Right? He was going to represent, I think, I can't remember if it was Abbotsford South or West or whatever, but then, John's buddy, the former Liberal, was going to run, so he wanted to keep his seat. So they're like, okay, James, you're out. So that's why James ended up going independent. But yeah, it's just like, have some integrity, man. Like James and Marcella with their Stand United, they were the ones who invited him down to the David Eby recall and really gave him the platform to join. And they, along with a whole bunch of other grassroots people, really helped to promote the Conservative Party and build it back up, because it was nothing, right? So then he, as a former Liberal, takes it over, brings his Liberal buddies, and it's like, who are you here to represent?
Yourself. The gun gang? The gun gang took it over.
I don't even know what, but and then more recently was it Bill 7 or something? He was nowhere to be seen, and that's a major bill that needed to be discussed. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You can't even show up. You're just going to run away and hide for what? This is not helpful for anybody. Right? Like we're in such a state of chaos in this province.
I didn't really criticize the BC Conservative Party because I'm in the PPC. I got my own problems, and I just didn't want to. But what happened with the BC Conservative Party is it sort of was a microcosm of what we're witnessing now with Don't Split the Vote.
Yeah.
Like people are in a state of fear.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, he's not perfect, but let's just, be quiet and toe the line. I'm like, no, it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse.
And that's always what I've hated is people who say that, oh, you're going to split the vote. You're going to split the vote. No. What you need to do is focus on what you as a person who is running can do. Like, it's always about the slanderous, negative, oh, so-and-so did this or didn't do this. Who cares about what they are or aren't doing? What are you going to do to represent me, right? That's what I care about. I care about what you have to offer. I know what they have and haven't done. It's very evident by the state of affairs that we're dealing with.
After the seashell debate, somebody contacted me.
Yeah.
And they said, I don't care what they say about the split the vote. I'm voting purple. And he said you were the only one providing solutions. Everybody else was resorting to name calling.
Yep. And that's what it always turns into, dirty politics, right? And I love that they said that to you, because you're right. You have a set of morals, and you're able to speak on your mind, right? Whereas all these people, like, that's why we saw right before everybody was brought in, was it the 7th or whenever they had to verify their candidates, a couple were kicked out because, oh no, so and so said this and so said that. It's like, yeah, they have an opinion, and that's their own personal opinion. Either if you didn't know they had a voice,
why did you bring them on?
Why did you bring them on in the first place?
Do you remember Stephen Malthouse, like the way they took him out? Do you remember that?
I wasn't fully aware of all of it. I know he was involved and he was gonna get involved with the party, but then I can't remember how that all played out.
The way I remember it, he got announced, and the nanosecond he got announced, like there was a targeted campaign against him from every angle on social media. It was so obvious, like this was months of work.
Right.
And John Rustad, what happened is he's so weak. He calls up Stephen Malthouse, and he's like, hey buddy, like I'll help you either way if you want me to, but if you want to resign, that's fine. And Stephen's like, all right, fine, I'll resign. And then Stephen's wife apparently goes to Stephen. He's like, no, don't fucking resign.
Yeah.
But it was too late at that point. They already kicked him out. But I mean, like, he should have had the backbone, Rustad, to rally behind his base, his candidate.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And same with like when Corinne Maury applied to the Conservative Party. Like, what the fuck were they thinking not bringing her on? She is a force. She is the nurse who fought the BCNU. She stood up for everybody and everything. And you decide what? She's too political? Like, I cannot fathom not wanting to have Corinne on your side.
Do you know who the president of that party was? She's just like this inexperienced, naive girl. She's not 18, but she's not some 50-year-old woman who's got a life experience. And it's just, I think she ran it into the ground.
That's unfortunate because and in Corinne's riding, it very much did get vote split, right? There was NDP, Green, her as an independent, and then the Conservatives. If they had taken her on as a candidate, they would have won hands down. And because they didn't, they lost. And the NDP won by one fucking seat, a majority, right? And I told them, even in my riding, like when I got arrested, I went down to my Conservative Party office and I was like, hey, this is just what happened. They did a little interview. They're like, we'll get this out on the media and broadcast. I was like, yes, here, take this riding on a silver platter. And they did nothing with it. It's like, what the hell are you sitting on this information for? You literally could have ousted Janet Rutledge. Like I went so far as, getting a hold of Elections BC. I said, this is malfeasance. This is a gross abuse of authority. This is intimidation. This is all these things. They're like, no, it's not. I was like, okay. And, I contacted every MLA. I was like, hey, you guys need to get rid of Janet Rutledge. Deal with this. And nobody did. And I'm like, am I going crazy here? Like, why would no one do something about this?
I've talked to maybe a half dozen whistleblowers the last few years.
Yeah.
And this is a common theme. They go to these parties, whether they're in office or not, and they don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Like I say, when a whistleblower comes to me, I tell them, I can put you on my show. I don't have that much power. I don't have that much reach. I'll do whatever I can. Well, but these other parties, they're kind of like, not our problem. Piss off.
Well, I had one really great interaction with one of the Conservative Party gals. She's been fantastic, just, reaching out as a human being and just like, I'm listening to you. I hear your side. I hear your story. I feel for you as a mother and Indigenous women and all these things. And I was like, thank you. That's all I'm looking for is a fucking human being response. Not like, oh, I think you emailed the wrong person. This isn't my riding. Like,
it's not my jurisdiction.
It's not my problem. You're not my problem. I don't care. right? And then even my own MLA, what's her name? Rhea Aurora, right? I didn't hear from her for a couple of weeks. And it was this bullshit story about, oh, I wasn't allowed to email you until I officially got, sworn in. And it's like, what the fuck, lady? Like, no, you could have emailed me. You chose not to, probably at the direction of David Eby and his little cohort, right? Because they're all lawyers, right? Like David Eby's a lawyer and
Oh,
Jagmeet Singh's a lawyer. Who needs all these lawyers?
Jenny, did I tell you I went to a conference, like a little fundraiser, and David Eby showed up?
How'd that go?
Oh my God, man! Like I was just writing down notes of all of his talking points. The guy is very good. He's evil, but he's very good at what he does, spreading
Of course
evil.
he is. He's a lawyer and a politician. You can't get much worse than that.
Oh, just like the what he was talking about was like family care. What do you call it when you give people medical assistance without their permission?
Oh,
Involuntary care, I think it's called.
yeah.
Yeah, and he goes like, the first thing I think about is that you do not want to give more power to the government. I'm like, but that's basically your modus operandi. Like, what are you're lying right through your teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, he has. Like, he's taken away our healthcare providers' Hippocratic oath, right? With Bill 36, HPOA. He, it's whatever the government of the day says is appropriate medical advice. If you don't follow that, you as a doctor can lose your license. You can go to jail. You can be fined, right? What I find really interesting is his wife is a doctor. What if people start reporting her saying she's a shitty ass doctor? She's given bad care.
Oh, they'll never do that. It only impacts the lower classes, not the
well, that's what I'm saying. But if someone were to say, as a patient, say, actually, you're a shitty doctor, and I'm going to report you, are they going to look into it?
Why are you going reaching so far? David Eby is white. Like all of these anti-white laws, like think a boomerang on him.
Yeah, that's true. David Eby is. He needs to be tried for treason, and Nuremberg 2.0 will happen. I believe it. Right? I'm holding up for it. And what people don't realize is it in the United States, it was called the doctor's trials, right? It was the United States of the court case was USA v. Karl Brandt et al. Right? So it was Karl Brandt was a doctor. So the United States sued this doctor and the other ones. So the doctors were held liable, right? And that's why you're seeing legislation in some of the states. Like Idaho just passed a bill for medical freedom. You can no longer force anyone to take a vaccine, to wear a mask, to do anything against their will. I was like, hallelujah.
I'm familiar with that. And I did an interview with a gentleman this morning from Florida. He's doing some news startup. And I said to him straight up, I'm like, the amount of the respect I have for Americans after COVID, I'm like, it's immeasurable. And I apologize to him for all of these tariff nonsense. And
yeah, and anytime I go down there to Washington, they're like, we miss y'all. And everyone has been nothing but kind. Like I have had instances like when I fled, like after I was arrested in January, I was so traumatized. I fled. I was like, we got to get the fuck out of here. I don't feel safe here. So we went to Point Roberts. I didn't have enough money to pay for my kids' snacks at the gas station. And the gas station attendant gave me $2. I started crying. I was like, you don't even know what this means to me. Just the goodness of your heart, just to recognize I'm just a mom trying to.
Same thing with me. Like after they opened up the border, I went down to Florida.
Yeah.
And it's just like the way that they talk to me at the counter. Like I couldn't contain myself. The grocery gross. Like, what's wrong, sir? It's just, they treat you like a human being. You don't have this plexiglass people scowling at you, treating you like a leper.
Yeah, like I worked very hard to get my United States citizenship. Like my 3 sisters got theirs 20 years ago. And at the time, I didn't picture myself living there. I didn't like, the politics, the gun violence, a whole bunch of things. And I was like, well, I don't want to have to pay taxes to 2 governments. This is shit, right? I don't even want to pay for one government. So I was like, nah. But then when 2020 rolled around, I was like, oh, damn, I better have a backup plan here. So, I worked my way through the system, the application, and I guess obviously the system had changed at the time, and they're like, you need to give us this. I was like, you're basically asking for a history report on my mom's time at McGill, and I had to literally call them, get her records from the 70s, ask for to see the old yearbooks to verify spring break, because she was back and forth, right? She lived in New York, so she was back and forth between, living in Montreal and New York. So she had you had to have like 5 years after the age of 14 as a resident. Well, I was able to come up with like 5 years and 2 weeks and 4 days. It was like to the wire. And then they're like, I was like, why are you making me do this? I said, all my sisters got theirs. They're like, well, maybe they should be revoked. I was like, oh shit.
Withdrawn. I have no sisters.
Yeah, it's like, sorry. But at the end of the day, I got it. But it was like a whole school project to get it. So and now, the rules are changing again. Right now, if I cross into the States, my husband is a Canadian and my kids are Canadian right now. So as of April 11th, if we decided we wanted to stay for longer than 30 days, well, we would have to register. And so it's like, well, what does that look like? How long does that change things? And like over the age of 14 is different than the two young kids.
This is all Trudeau's doing. I did a podcast with my friend Jason James 6 months ago, maybe. And he said, like, Canada, if it doesn't get its act together, they might revoke our, guaranteed extended 6-month visa.
Yeah.
And it's happening. And what are the Canadians doing? Are they having like a self-reflection moment? No, Orange Man bad. It's not. Nothing's ever our fault.
Yeah,
and I'm like, neighbors to the south.
Well, and the thing is, it's like David Eby's policies, Bonnie Henry's policies. Like, let's hand out drugs like it's candy outside the VPD. Like, here's some crack, cocaine, heroin. And it's like, no wonder they want to shut the borders. Like, I wouldn't want all those drugs coming in, never mind human trafficking, like all this stuff. And it's like, how is this the United States president's fault for wanting to protect his own people and his nation, right? It's so backwards thinking. And it's like, hey, guys, by the way, those policies actually also protect us too, right? Like, I don't want to have my streets full of drugs and drug addicts. Like, I don't want my kids as a teenager to go to a party for the first time and have their drinks spiked, and then they're dead because someone has put fentanyl in their drink.
The wrong dosage.
Or right? Like, holy shit, that is a scary ass thing to be thinking about as a parent. And like, it's not bad to want to not have all these access to drugs. Look at, we are facing the biggest opioid crisis in the history of this province. Suicide rates are out of control. Mental health is out of control. And this is all Donald Trump's fault? Get real. Like, come on,
in these debates, the way they frame the questions, it drives me nuts. What is the People's Party government going to do to increase funding for mental health support? I'm like, well, why don't we get the opiates out of the pharmacare opiates out? And why don't we stop doing safe supply? Like, the federal government should turn to BC, be like, not a single dollar more until you clean your act up. You sell drugs, we won't give you any money.
Yeah, exactly.
They should lock the border.
I would. And that's the thing. Like, you look back, it's not just this government. You look back at what Christy Clark did, the Liberal, when she was running this province. She shut down Riverview. That was a huge place for mental health. Of course, all those people are now in the downtown east side. Now they have easy access to drugs, right? And then, on and on it goes. Like Bonnie Henry, I saw her it was like a deposition, and the government guy, whoever it was grilling her. And she made up this fucking lie about, she's like, the problem isn't the drugs, it's the prohibition of the drugs. I'm like, lady, you are some piece of work if you is sitting there straight face saying this.
These monsters, they have no shame in the debate, the senior center debate. One guy, the Liberal guy, they asked him about the 11 treasonous MPs. And he's like, well, why isn't Pierre Poilievre getting a security clearance? What does he have to hide? And the Rhino candidate next to me, he's like, that guy's got some serious balls saying that publicly.
Yeah. It's it's like the Wild West out here, and it's such an embarrassment to our country too, right? We used to be known as this peacekeeping nation that would help people out, and now we're turning into this like hatred-filled place where you don't even have the ability to speak your mind without being told that you're racist and you're a misogynist. And like Trudeau is literally on TV saying, do we accept these people into society with their unacceptable views, and do we allow them on planes and trains?
Scott Moe, he's like, yeah, we've been patient, but our patience have run out. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know we had a Bond villain for a premier.
Right? Yeah, and it's like I felt like I was really concerned. I thought we were like 2 steps away from being interned, right?
I called up my lawyer and I said, do you want me to leave some money with you? I thought they were going to arrest me. I really thought they were going to come around and say, take it, or we're detaining you.
Yeah, I thought they were too, for sure. I thought they were going to get the military involved. I thought it was scary times, especially the amount of hate, like that we couldn't even go to a restaurant, we couldn't go to a gym, and it was very obvious if you're not allowed in society, if you don't have your little like papers, please. Like, is this West Germany?
East Germany, West Germany, yeah.
Christ, like that's what it felt like. Like, where's the Berlin Wall, man? Like, I
wanted to correct you.
Yeah.
You said it felt like they were going to bring the military in. They asked the military, if you remember.
They did.
The military refused. They said this is, I think it was the Emergencies Act, but they said this is not our jurisdiction.
And thank God for that. Thank God for those people who stood firm. Like the fact that Trudeau's, what is it, his sniper or his personal detail, who came out and was very vocal, right, said, no, this is wrong. And some of the police too, the ones that stand on guard ones, right? The ones who came out to say, this is wrong. This is against our charter rights, our Bill of Rights, human rights, and they wouldn't do it, right? And then you have these other ones who are just like power hungry, happy to follow along. And
Lametti, Mendocino, obviously Freeland.
Oh, don't even start me on her.
What was that hobgoblin minister of immigration?
Hobgoblin.
You remember him?
No.
It's like this little midget-looking Algerian, Middle Eastern guy with like big ears. He was the minister of immigration. Just the ugliest man I've ever seen. Like he fell off the ugly tree, hit every branch on the way down.
Was he like African or?
No, he was like Egyptian. He looked Middle Eastern.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what his name was.
He's just the ugliest man, like the kind of face that a mother couldn't love. Like it's just horrible.
I thought Theresa Tam was the ugliest man.
I shouldn't be mean. She's a woman, but this guy was.
Is she? I thought she was.
All right, we're slipping. We're slipping here.
Okay. Sorry. But at any rate, they're all criminals, and they need to be tried for treason and crimes against humanity, and they need to be held accountable, right? Like in David Eby's bills, like I can't remember if it was the Bill 7 or whatever one of his bills, the tariff and trade war bill. It was like he has language in there that basically says, oh, we won't, as politicians, we're not going to be held liable if something goes awry because of this bill. It's like, must be nice that you can pass whatever.
No, but was there no one there to tell him, like, sir, that's not necessary, but it's already in practice anyway?
Oh.
Like, when was the last time a politician passed a law where they got held accountable for it?
I don't know. Nuremberg?
Well, the parliament is supreme. They can do whatever they want. They have activist judges like Wagner.
That's such a shame. And that was the whole reason behind having those layers, right? You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the judicial, and they are supposed to be separated for a reason, right? To have that backup plan if you get this tyrannical dictator in power to say, oh, whoa, hold on a minute, right? Oh, no, we're just going to prorogue Parliament. Okay, so they're out, and then the Senate is doing who knows.
Look at Canada. Like, we have the legislature. Yeah. The party in power in the legislature also becomes the executive.
Yes.
The Senate is appointed by the executive.
Yes.
And we technically don't have a co-equal branch with the Supreme Court or just the judiciary. So the judiciary is technically under the executive. Like we
Yeah.
don't. This is not America. This is a
No.
dictatorship.
No, it is. And that's the thing, right? You get, and of course, all the judges, they're not appointed or they're not elected. They're
Appointed
just
by the prime minister. Went
appointed.
through the AG or whatever.
Yeah, and they're all former lawyers, and they just, well, we're going to play these little games, and they have that, what is it, the Legal Professions Act. Now all the normie lawyers are like, oh shit, this is a problem for us. It's like, yeah, no shit it is. We tried to tell you this 2 years ago during the recall of David Eby with the HPOA, and now they're coming after you, and now you're all up in arms. It's like, hey, yeah, it's a little late now to be coming out and speaking out, but thanks for joining in the fight 5 years later, right? And you see this in other jurisdictions that are similar to us, New Zealand and Australia, right? Oh my God, Senator Thorpe, the Australian woman, she's Aboriginal. She's just tearing it up. She's just like, fuck this shit. And she's holding the colonizing government to task, right? That amazing Maori, she's like a 22-year-old. Is she a member of parliament?
Right, that woman that did that ethnic ritual thing.
The
so
haka.
They went to a school. What's it called? The haka?
The haka. So that's the traditional Maori. I think it's a war chant.
Whatever it is. I'm just gonna call it a war chant. I can't pronounce it.
It's a haka. They do it in rugby a lot, right?
But they went to school. They went to school where they were holding a drag queen story hour, and they did. And
I love it.
It was so effective because you had these like effeminate men with ponytails. Like, you can't come in here. And this guy's like, who's going to stop me? And they go in and they do that. It's very intimidating chant.
Well, it is. And that's why they do it in rugby, right? They come out and they, right? It's
like a German war chant kind of thing.
Well, no, it's
dramatic.
A Maori war chant. And she did that in Parliament, and to watch her and her other MLAs, or I think it's MLAs. I might be wrong, or it might be MPs. But and then up above, and then they're all doing, and it was so powerful. And then the House is just like the speakers are, and then recently they were dealing with like I think a treaty bill or the Treaty Act, and everybody voted it down. Except that one party, the last remaining colonizer, because they're trying to establish the rights of the for people, ancestral rights for traditional peoples. And it's great to see them speaking out, but it's like, where is this in Canada, right? Where are our First Nations? Well, we've got Mary Simon, the Governor General, who's a Nook. She's married to some white dude who's also on the fucking payroll. And it's like, oh, we're going to appropriate $60 billion of Canadian taxpayers' dollars. And what? So you are just this person who came in. We're going to tell everyone this is our part of our Truth and Reconciliation. No, we need like Jody Wilson-Raybould to be like, you pieces of shit, like get out of here. Dude.
Ruby Dalla, when she bleeds red, like liberal red. Hello, you're on your live.
Yeah, we're live. Can you get me from the
fridge? She bleeds red.
Yeah.
And then they basically screw her over and kick her out of the party. And all of a sudden the clock starts and she's like, oh, never forget Jody Wilson-Raybould. I'm like, did you forget in the last 4 years? Did you not?
Yeah. Yeah. Jody Wilson-Raybould. And then her colleague, what was the blonde's name? God, I can't remember. She spoke out too, and she was booted. But it's time and time again, like, where are the First Nations? There was one, I think, a Nanook Inuit woman, part of the NDP, and she basically left because she was like trashed and treated like crap. And I'm like, that's a horrible experience as this young woman representing not only her culture and her area, up north, and to be treated like shit in the Parliament is awful. And we saw that in BC too, with the MLAs. I can't recall her name. She was like Commercial Drive area, but another okay, go away. First Nations, same thing, right? Like they get treated horrifically, and that's why I do see was it Alika? I can't remember. She's a conservative. She's Stolo Nation. She's lovely, and I understand why she was so upset with Dallas's comments. But yeah, we need more of those voices to speak out. And what I don't understand, like I don't know, like how are these First Nations voting? Like, are they voting? Are they just like fuck this shit? These colonizers.
I don't know, man, but like I reached out to the First Nations and I'm like, does anybody want to come on my show or tell me what you want? And it's hard to break through. So the apathy that exists amongst Canadians, it exists amongst them as well.
Well, of course it would, because they are so disillusioned by how they've been treated, and I don't blame them. But at some point, it's like, do you say, "Am I going to join in this, vote and actually make my voice heard?" Because there are some, like I think there was a conservative federal guy up in northern BC, and he came out. He's like, I'm on reserve. I'm this. I'm that. And he had some great things to say, right? Like if those voices are there and available, they can represent not only their nation but Canada too. Right?
I wanted to end with something. We're at an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
This is kind of like a mini manifesto of sorts. You and I both know BC Rising.
Yes.
Everybody knows Freedom Rising with Ted Koontz. And you got the ostrich fiasco going on.
I know. I might even I was thinking of driving out my friend Rojo, Robert Johnson, who's under fire in Kelowna for his own personal stuff.
I actually went there to the ostrich thing.
Yeah.
So I did the day where they were originally supposed to call them. But
okay.
What I'm trying to say is now that I tried not to reach out to them. There's a sense on our side that politics is dirty and you have to be partisan, and we don't want to have anything to do with the politicians. Now that the election has started, I reached out to them again and I said, you guys need to get me on and I can tell you what's going on in the States. And there's still this resistance, like we're nonpartisan. And we need to overcome that because the other side is not nonpartisan. These debate commissions, BC Rising could be doing what the debates are doing. If they get their act together and they get like a member list of 10, 20,000 people, they can channel that to affect political change.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because I was originally part of, some of the original group of BC Rising, but it's a lot of, boomers and older Gen X's. And a lot of them are sort of like, well, we don't like you're not
cowboy hat.
Well, I guess, yeah. They don't like my truth, my voice, and it's like, who are you to decide what freedom looks like, what my experience is, right? And I love that they come together and stuff, and I love this, and there's a lot that's great, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you guys are a bunch of Zoomer boomers. Where's the youth? Where's the engagement? Right? Like the collective age here is like 7,000.
Deceased.
It's like, you guys, if you can't engage with my generation and younger, like the millennials and the Gen Alpha and
I don't know what they are anymore.
Either do I. But I know below me, I'm Gen X. I'm the last of the Gen X. It's 1980. So 1981 and below is millennial. And then it gets into alpha and beta and who knows what. But it's like, you need to have, because there's such a range of, you're missing out on voters. You're missing out on that, this is their future, right? The boomers are the ones who fucked this country up. Like, how do you expect that you're going to be the ones to fix it when you messed it up, right? Who are you to come up with the solutions for me and my children?
There's another thing.
Listen to us and let us lead, and you follow our lead, right?
Yeah, but there's something else about. I'm just going to call them conservatives. So we could say the Conservative Party supporters. Mm-hmm. I donated to the Freedom Convoy, and I got doxxed, and everyone in our area that got doxxed, we joined a Signal group. So I'm on the Signal group. They're all going to vote conservative, because they don't split the vote. They are freaking out over Mark Carney winning, and they're in there like posting 8 hours a day. And I told them, I'm like, why don't you guys just go to a park and hold a Pierre Poilievre sign up? Like do something. You can't just sitting in your basement. It's not going to change anything.
No. Well, I mean, if you want, like, I really should reach out to some of these people. This is where I used to work, right? This is all the richest people in the city.
What is that? The United Nations? I can't see that.
Oh God, no! It's Capilano Golf and Country Club. So
Yeah, those guys are not going to vote for anything other than liberal.
No, there's conservative voters there for sure. They want their money. They want to keep their money. They're rich for.
Are they conservative, or do they have their elbows up when they're swinging the golf?
I don't know. I haven't worked up there since I got fired. I mean, sorry, laid off when I was pregnant with my eldest 15 years ago. Because guess what? I was too opinionated. Go figure. Right?
Who did you criticize?
The GM, because we used to get lunch, staff lunch, and they'd provide it from like leftover member lunches. And there was a time that we got sick from the shrimp sandwiches, right? I'm like, I'm pregnant. I can't afford to get food poisoning while I'm pregnant. And my boss, Pat McGuire, he was the controller. He's like, you're not supposed to go above my head. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, actually, Doug told me that his door was always open. So either that's a lie or you're just a power-hungry douche bomber who wants to.
You imagine they're like, sir, what do we do with this food? Should we throw it out now and give it to the health?
Yeah. Right. And oh my God, no, there was a lot about me they didn't like. They thought I would be just a pretty little front desk lady and I'd keep my mouth shut. No, I did not. Like I did the news and views. I was on part of like the so many, I did so much great stuff and the women loved me and it was great. Like I had a lot of great experiences with the members. But like those guys, they were just like Pat. He had the nerve to say to me, like, the only reason you're working here is to get your mat leave. Like, I don't care if you have a whole volleyball team of kids. I was like, what the fuck?
Jesus Christ, buddy! Like, I never heard of a lawsuit.
Yeah, and he said something else too. It was appalling, and I was just like, are you serious? And like I kept the emails and like I would like they had member events, right? And it was my job to put them in the news and views, but it was also apparently my job to keep track of, food and beverage and this and that and say, hey guys, like, maybe we should change up the ads to make them fresh and have people interested, right? And then the food and beverage would never get back to me. And he's like, yes, mom. And I was like, hey, get your shit together or you're not going to fill up the member events, right? And then Pat's like, you have no business talking to him like this. Or blah, 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 blah. It's like, we're a small enough organization and all these people are adults. Yeah, I can talk to them like this. Get over it, Pat. And then I was like, oh, I got in shit for like being on my phone once. And they're like, you're not allowed on your phone. I was like, actually, everybody in the fucking bag shop and on the golf course and in the golf shop are on their phone. So rules for thee and not for me or vice versa. What is it? Right. And he's like, they're a part of a different, I'm not their boss and they have this and they have that. I was like, no, you just want to tell me what to do and how to do it, Pat. And that's all.
So basically it was a hostile work environment.
Totally. And it was sad because, I really cared and I made a lot of difference there. And it was too traumatic. I should have sued the shit out of them, right? I had every right to, but I was like, I'm pregnant. This is my first baby. I cannot bring that energy into my life, right? So I was just like, I'm out of here. And actually one of the members, he was one of my favorite, George Granger, he talked me out of it. He's like, don't do this, Jenny. I was like, okay. And, later on in the COVID years, I had kept in touch with a member or a former colleague, Yana. She was admitting. She got fired for not taking the COVID injection. And well, guess what? Someone at the bag shop died from it. And there was during my time, there was a female grounds crew. They had brought her in special, Liz. She was fired too. So it was very evident they had this thing against women. So they could have a gay chef in the background. They could have, food and beverage manager who married a member. They could have food and beverage having an affair. They could have all these things, but they couldn't have women who had, an opinion and a voice. So at the end of the day, I was out of there. I appreciated my time and what I learned there and being able to interact with a lot of the nice people. And the women, they were pissed. They went upstairs and they're like, how dare you do this to Jenny? This is awful. And I went back one day when I was further along and they were having a meeting. Doug, Doug, the GM, and Adam from, the head of the grounds crew, and I think it's Peter Kirkowen. He was on like the whatever committee. And so I brought them in their drinks. And I was like, oh, who had the Diet Coke and who had the milk? And the look on Doug's face, he's like, what the fuck is she doing here?
Like that guy at the teachers' council meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Like the guy at the Burnaby. They're like, I was like, I'm not letting you forget who
All
I
right,
am.
Jenny, I gotta go. I just got word that one of my signs has defected over to the National Socialist Party of Germany. They've drawn a Nazi mustache on me, so I'm gonna go buy it.
Like
Yeah, I'm gonna go find like some biggest fake mustache I can plaster it on top.
Do like a one of these ones with the curlies.
Yes, right? Yes, yeah. And I'm gonna put a message out, and I say I support a Jewish residents.
Aw, that's awful. And yeah, it's so see, like I said, dirty politics, right? Like, why go there? Why do people need to do that?
Yeah.
Well, it's been great chatting with you, and like I said, I think you have a lot to offer. You're riding a lot of really important things to say. You have the possibility of representing the people not only in Sunshine Coast but up Whistler, Squamish, West Van. I would totally vote for you if I was in your riding, and I hope the people in my area who are part of your party can get it together and because I've offered help. Like, I'm in Jagmeet Singh's riding. I would love nothing more to destroy his opportunity to have a seat in my riding, right? And PPC would be my vote for sure to support that. Conservatives would be a close second, but red and orange, gotta go.
That's a good note to end on. Say no to red and orange.
No more red, no more orange, right? Like, what was that saying back in the day when it was communism? Better dead than red. At this point, you will be dead if you choose red, right?
You will own nothing and you'll be dead.
You'll own nothing. You'll be happy and you'll eat bugs. And then we're going to take your property and your money and your kids. And
there's this video game I used to play. They had a fictional U.S. president. His catchphrase was "Vote for me if you want to live."
Yeah.
Let's see if I can bust that open in the debates.
Yes.
All right.
When's your next debate?
My last one is on the 22nd, which I believe is Tuesday. It's in Whistler.
Oh, that's a bit far. But
I might just go for broke, and I might do
it.
Absolute truth.
You should do it. Just fly at her.
No more diplomacy.
Well, why? What's the point? Like, if they're just going to say the things they're saying and doing, just say, here I am, right? If you've already given, a more balanced approach in West Van at the Senior Center and up in the Sunshine Coast, that is available for people to see, right? So here's the full spectrum of Payman Asghari, right? You can get this, you can see this, I'll do this for you, right? I would, but that's me.
I think
don't listen to me. You might get arrested.
That's fine. We're all going to jail anyway. I don't know if I mentioned this, but in the seniors debate, I had 5 minutes to talk about the party platform, and I kind of look around and like, these guys are not voting for the PPC, so I took the opportunity and I drew a line from like Brexit to disqualification of Bernie Sanders. The kicking out of Donald Trump in 2020, and then I tied it to Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, Fed Chair Powell withdrawing support
from Powell. Oh, don't even start me with that
guy. And I was like, so these are the reasons that Donald Trump brought these tariffs. And I'm like, this is Mark Carney's job. He's just basically here to destroy Canada in the process of slowing Trump down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, none of you have heard any of this from the media. All you've heard is Orange Man and Dad vote for the PPC if you want the truth. Yeah. Just like the look on their face. Like, we're not voting for this guy.
Don't worry, Payman. No. Doug Ford's gonna save us. Okay, he's gonna make baseball caps for $45 and say, what does it say? Make Canada great.
Doug Ford is badass. Yeah.
Buck a beer. Go back to that. You were better off, man. Stay out of politics. Get out of our lives. Go away. Your daughter had it right.
All right, Jenny. It was a blast having you on. We should do it more.
Yeah, we totally should. Whether it's to shoot the shit for PPC or just life in general. Maybe we'll do the post-mortem depending on who gets in, or we'll have a celebratory say, hey,
All
this
right.
is what you have to look forward to.
I'll bring the bottle of vodka.
Vodka. I like Caesars, so I'm down for that.
Sounds good. All right. You have a good day. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, Payman.
Bye.
Bye.